Okay, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Talk Black podcast. This is your source for information and conversation about the important issues that affect the Black community. I'm one of your hosts, Coco Sorrell, and my other host, Leslie, is going live with us via Zoom. What's going on, Leslie?
Hi, Coco. It's nice to see you tonight.
Good to see you too. And so today is a very special episode. We have a very special guest. And since it is the holidays, it's Thanksgiving coming up, we wanted to have someone who not only has a phenomenal business mind, but he also is very much so known for giving back to the community. He is an entrepreneur, a motivation speaker, a mastermind behind several very successful restaurants, Breakfast Club, Reggae Hut, Alley Cat Bone Lounge, and Culture. I want to give a huge warm welcome to Marcus Davis to the Top Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing this evening?
I'm excited. I'm excited to be here.
Good.
Excited to be here with you and Leslie and all the gang.
We're excited to
We're
have you.
we're excited to have you. Yes.
Yes, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come talk to us. So first things first, I kind of wanted to see about your background. I know that you went to school here in Houston, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I am born and raised in Houston, and I am from the north side.
The North
Yeah,
Side.
I'm from Fifth Ward, Texas.
Okay, okay.
The Breakfast Club.
The breakfast.
Yeah.
Oh, and then did you go to you went to college here as well, right?
Yeah. I went to Texas Southern University.
Yeah.
After I finished from the north side, I went to Texas Southern University over on the south side, Third Ward, Texas. I'm a proud graduate, class of '96, TSU Tigers, affectionately known as the greatest university on the face of the earth.
There you
Awesome.
go.
So when you went to college, right? When you went to school, did you already kind of have it planned out that you wanted to focus on entrepreneurship, or did you totally go to something different?
No, my major in undergrad was political science, and so, I do a lot of political commentary, and people ask me about it, and I share with them there are two things. One, I am by trade a political scientist,
Mhm.
and two, um, I learned years ago that everything you do is governed by politics, by the political system. Outside of what you believe internally, everything externally, the air you intake and exhale, and as my mentor would say, everything from uh, flushing of the toilet is a political statement. Because yeah, you're
Correct.
right. Because when you
Mhm.
flush the toilet, the water that goes down is governed by a municipality that you vote for.
Oh wow,
Yeah, it's that deep,
that's very deep.
deep, down deep in the
Yeah,
bowl. All right.
yeah, all the way.
That's
So
interesting.
that is very interesting. So then, of course, you probably the toilet bowl. I'm like, you stuck on the toilet bowl.
Yeah. It's gonna stick with you.
That's
Yes,
definitely
it
gonna stick.
does. Yes.
So clearly, you went to school for that. That was so. What was 10-year-old Marcus Davis like? Were you already kind of showing signs?
Let's see, 10-year-old Marcus Davis.
Um, I would have to. It's funny you say that because today this morning I sent my kids a text. A good morning kiddos text,
Mhm.
and it was a picture of them in 2014. When my son at the time was 10,
Mhm.
and he was he was more than a handful. So I got to say, at 10, I was more than a handful.
More than But that could be anything because some people with an overactive mind or they tend to end up being entrepreneurs or going in their own lane. And doing
So, there's a story that I tell. It's funny because I have no idea where this came from, but I remembered it, and I don't even know how I remember. One day, my dad and I were working out in the yard, and I was probably about 9 or 10 years old, and the fellas were playing hot ball right up the street, and I wanted to go play football.
I was like,
So
wait, what is hot?
hot ball is when it makes big boys out of little boys. It's when you throw the ball up in the air, and whoever catches it, everybody gets the tackle,
Ah,
whomever that is. Yeah, it's a real boys game, right? Um, but nonetheless, so they were playing, and I wanted to go play, and he insisted that I help uh, him in the yard. And I never forget, we were digging up this thing, planting mulch and all this kind of stuff. Putting, I was like, man, I don't really want to do this. He said, well, you need to learn how to do this because when you get older, you're gonna have a yard, and you're gonna need to know how to take care of your yard. And I said, and I just snapped all of a sudden. I said, man, when I get older, I'm gonna be a businessman. I'm gonna be rich, and I'm gonna have to pay somebody to do my yard.
Somebody do
And I have
it.
no idea where that came from. I swear, I have no idea where that came from.
Wow.
It just came to my
Out
head.
of nowhere.
Well, you watch television and you see
Yeah.
things on TV. I don't know what I was watching. It may have been Heart to Heart. He never cut his grass. I'm dating myself because y'all.
Right. So even subconsciously, you knew I'm gonna have so much money that I'm not
Yeah.
doing that.
Now, fast forward. I tell you something funny, right? Fast forward some 20 years later, 15 maybe. I bought my first house, and I was like, man. And as soon as I, bought it, I envisioned all the things I could do to it. And one of the first things I thought about is, what am I going to do to your yard? And so I picked up the phone and I called my pops. I said, hey, come over here and do this yard work with me. and that was one of the, we did the yard together. Yeah, that same flower bed, we did it right in front of my house.
Came full circle. That's
Full circle.
So
Now,
what
do
was
you
your
feel
first
like
business?
those
Okay.
principles of those lessons have helped you in your business today?
So, one of the main principles that I got from my father, there are a couple of them. I talk about how my father did not have the resources to fund my business when I wanted to open it.
Right.
And that we'll get to that.
Yeah, that was
Access
one of
to
my
capital,
questions.
right? We'll get to that. But nonetheless, what he did have were some great principles that I have found, which is for me, which are uh, one, he insisted that you save money. Two, he insisted that you kept your credit good. And three, work your ass off. High work ethic, person of integrity when it comes to your finances, paying your bills on time, all that kind of good stuff, and being diligent with your finances by saving. And it was through those three things that I was able to start the restaurant, because I did adhere to those things. I did save a few dollars. At 26 years old, I did have a 700 plus credit score, which was pretty.
That's
That's
awesome.
good. Yeah.
And you got to think about it. You're 20. You're in your 20s, and I'm not too far removed from college, and
Yeah.
but it was something that he taught me. So
Which is a great foundation. A lot of families don't teach, especially in the Black community. We're not taught that.
No.
You know, build your credit, save money, don't just spend it all. So that you had like the proper feeding.
And I was sharing with somebody today how my parents would. I worked a lot as a kid. I started working when I was 15 years old, and I had no problem, working 40 hours a week. I had no problem pulling double shifts. 40 during the summer. Of course, I couldn't do that during the school year. But nonetheless, anytime I can get on the schedule, I'll get on the schedule. And so as a result, they had no problem with me buying what I wanted to buy for myself, as long as I had already saved what I should have saved. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So I spent $172 on some leather pants.
Not the leather though. Where were you going in leather pants?
In 1989.
Okay.
And
Come on now.
Exactly.
Come on now. Eddie Murphy has set the world on fire in leather pants. Come on now.
And you had to have them. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. So you had proper teaching as far as that went. What kind of job or odd jobs did you have when you were saving up? Where were you?
Oh no, I started working in a restaurant when I was 15.
Okay.
Yeah, I started working in a restaurant when I was 15, and that's where I was saving my money. Well, I started working in a restaurant when I was 15, but I started working in food service when I was about that 8, 9, 10-year-old Marcus. Right. My dad, who was a caterer by passion, he was an educator by profession, but his two passions, he had side gigs. And one, he was a great musician, and two, he was a great cook. And so he did both of those on the side while teaching school and running school. He was able to do a banquet and play for the banquet at the same time.
Oh wow.
No, this dude was crazy, man. He would do a wedding. He would do the wedding. He would cater the wedding, and he would play for the wedding at
Wow.
the same time. I was like, dude, what are you?
Wow.
Crazy.
He was a
Superman.
go-getter.
He
Now,
was.
Absolutely.
with
Yes.
with you working at 15 in restaurants, do you find you have a lot of young applicants that apply to work at your restaurants? And if
Uh,
so, do
you
you
know,
try
we
to
do.
instill those values?
We do, and I'm a fan of young people coming to work. I enjoy when young men and women say that they want a job. I tell you what, I do not enjoy. I don't enjoy when mama come up and say, "Can you give my baby a job?"
Mm-hmm.
No, that boy 15, that boy 16 years old. You let him get that job on his own. Sit him up to
That's
the counter,
right.
let him get his application, let him fill it out.
Exactly.
I said, if you get him the job, then I'm gonna call you when he don't wash his dishes right.
Mm.
Yeah. And
So
so do you how do you feel about the work ethic of our younger generation today versus the
you
work
know,
ethic of an older
I,
generation?
I think the work ethic of this generation is a direct result of the work ethic that was taught to them through the previous generation. Generations don't come up with their own thing for the most part, right? They have their own level of expansion, but their foundation comes from the generation prior to.
Right.
So whatever they had or whatever they lacked, uh, is a direct result of the generation prior to. And I will tell you something. This is particularly in the African American community. And I'm sure it may have happened in other areas, but I've only been black, so I only know the black experience. But there was this, and this going to your question, Leslie. There was this thing in our community. So my parents, and they were. My dad didn't do it, but I'm just saying people around my parents' age,
Right. Right.
and the ones just after that. The idea was I am going to give my kids everything that I did not have,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
And I am not going to let them have to do. They're not going to have to do what I had to do.
Right.
And I think in that, Leslie, I think that parent that was the vice president of such and such bank that had to walk 6 miles to work or walk 6 miles to school in the cold in the shoes that him and his brother shared every other day and the jeans that
Mm.
it had 18 patches on it, and then had to go work 2 jobs afterwards. All of that stuff made him the vice president of that company that he was the vice president of, right? And I think when you deprive children of those character building experiences, then you deprive them of who you are, right? What made you who you are.
Right.
So I have no problem not giving my kids. I have no problem. I have a group that I'm in. It's one of these, I don't know, accountability groups, think tank groups, or what have you. And I think there are only 2 or 3 African Americans in this group. It's a multicultural group.
Mhm.
But we was talking one day, and we were doing like a round robin about generations and passing things over. And I made the statement. I said, I don't really have a plan on leaving my kids money. And so the sister that was in the course with me, she elbowed me in the ribs, like ugh. She elbowed me in the ribs. Yeah, she got me good. And she said, "What?" And she did that. She did that black mama thing where she tightened her lips up and looked at me and she said, "You can't say nothing like that." And I stated, I said, that's not my intention. I do not have any intention of leaving my children a boatload of money. That's just. I'm not saying it will or will not happen.
Mhm.
What I'm saying is that's not what I'm striving for,
Mm.
right?
Right.
And here's the logic behind it. I feel like if I give my children a great set of values, make them people of principle,
Mhm.
a high work ethic, and expose them to opportunities, then they should be able to
Do it on their
do
own.
it on their own.
Absolutely.
I told my daughter, if you only make my money, then we did something wrong.
It's true. I no, I feel you.
you know, I'm hopeful that by the time they get going, they're gonna leave me money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a
You
twist
know what I'm
of a
saying? When my kids graduate, they owe me $1,732,000 and 56 cents. The minute they walk off that stage, now we can work out how they're gonna pay it back to me.
right.
But
That's it's kind of like what my husband he says. I'm not leaving you guys anything. I want you guys to miss me. I want you to appreciate the life.
Yes.
I want you guys to really miss all that money.
I just think that and don't get me wrong, I understand the concept of generational wealth. I understand the benefit of it,
Yeah.
but I just believe if there is, if things are done well, if things are done right, then those kids should be able to get more than what you got.
Right.
That's just my belief.
Gotcha.
My ribs
That's
are hurting.
fantastic. You don't hear that very often today, and then when you hear it, it speaks volumes because that's the message we want to get out. Work hard for what you want, and that message doesn't seem to be getting across as clearly as we would like it to, which is the whole reason for our show, is to try to get the information out there, the education, and talk about these things and empower our community to work
And just spread the
harder.
basics out because, like, yeah, I agree. Spread the knowledge because there's people who might not have a parent that taught you what
Right.
you know.
Exactly.
So,
I'm sorry, but going back to business, I read an article one day in Black Enterprise about a father who had a son. He owned a car dealership, and his son worked in the business with him. And it was time for his father to retire, and he was selling the business. And instead of giving it to his son, he told his son, "You want the business? You need to put your name in the hat with the other people who are bidding for it."
oh wow.
And he made him put together the package, go find the funding. He made him do all of the work that he had to do to get that dealership, and he made him be competitive with the marketplace. And that just spoke volumes. And
Absolutely does. Yes.
and he now that he has what we call skin in the game.
Right.
So how he treats that business is completely
Right.
different than if it was handed to him.
Right.
You don't believe me? Watch your kids buy a bag of chips and then throw them out the window or something. They were like, I bought that with my money.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a deal.
That's very
Yeah.
true.
You got a deal.
Right.
I remember my kids one day, I paid for that.
Oh, did you?
Well, kids thrive on
Yeah, it's his own
that.
money. I get it.
Oh,
But now you understand how I messed over it, so you feel bad. You
Yeah.
feel it's not okay because I did something wrong with the stuff that you paid for.
Yeah.
Like come home and tell y'all that we eating leftovers instead of letting that food spoil. Okay, all right.
So you understand and you appreciate. That's true.
I just can't imagine any food spoiling at your house at all.
Oh man, don't even get me. Don't get these kids. They so and you have to understand that times are changing and technology is different. I walk in the house and my son may have ordered. He's 16 years old, right? I came downstairs and there was a on the counter. He ordered it, and he paid for it out of his little thing. Right, he has a little card. It wasn't my money.
Yeah, his own job.
It was his money. He worked over summer, made him $1. He saves up his birthday money and all that kind of good stuff. But I'd show ate it. I'll tell you that.
As you should. Okay, quick social media break so we can announce our social medias. First of all, go ahead and follow us on all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat. All of our handles are the same, like I said, at Black Podcast. And please make sure to follow our special guest, Marcus Davis, on Facebook. It's at Marcus Davis. Instagram is Marcus Messiah.
Yeah, my ID is at Marcus Messiah.
Okay.
Right.
And then your restaurant, social media, Facebook is at The Breakfast Club, and Twitter and IG are Catfish and Grits.
Catfish and Grits, right. And D is a part of our name. TBK, The Breakfast Club.
The Breakfast
Yeah,
Club.
so when they type
The
it in, they have to
breakfast.
type it in. Yeah,
Gotcha. Okay, so
not
we
like that.
make okay. We'll make sure to edit that. It is production. It is the
The
Breakfast.
Breakfast Club.
Oh my gosh! So, kind of getting back into it. We kind of talked about your background, your values, as far as the Breakfast Club goes. When you started that, did you know that it was going to? And you had businesses before that, right? Or this is your like your first
So,
venture?
so the entrepreneur in me had tried things before, right?
Mhm.
I made it. It's crazy because in 2017, when the Astros won the World Championship, I press pause right there.
Yes, they.
So anybody that got anything to say? All right, I ain't think so. When the Astros won the World Championship, for all you haters out there, don't be mad because you got out cheated. Baseball is a cheating sport, and just because you got out cheated, don't be mad. You was cheating and you didn't cheat good enough. So I'm gonna let that alone.
Okay.
All right. I'm talking to all the folks in LA and all the folks in New York. All right. Let me leave it alone. All right. So in 2017, when the Astros won the World Series, people on social media were making fun of. They were joking and talking about every corner I turn, they go to T-shirt guy, T-shirt guy, T-shirt guy. So there was a lot of jokes about T-shirt guy. So I told them, I said, hey guys, I did a post. I said, be careful of how you consider the T-shirt guy because that may just be a rung on the ladder. Who knows? Who may grow up to run a multi-million-dollar company someday,
That's
like
right.
me. Because in 94 and 95, I was hustling T-shirts when the Rockets won the championship. And I was walking up and down Richmond Avenue with T-shirts on my back that a buddy of mine had designed and were selling. So, yeah, I was
There
a
you go.
T-shirt guy.
Hey,
I love it.
but that's
Yeah,
good. So because we do kind of put a stigma on,
yeah,
the regular schmeg, what we think is regular or not, prestigious.
yeah.
So.
It was just, it was me exploring. And
Mhm.
the crazy part about it, is it was a buddy of mine and I that were doing it. And this was the first time. No, it wasn't the first time. This was one of many times where I had been engaged in something with someone else, only to discover, and I'm not hating on them. I just only discovered they didn't have the fire that I had,
Mm.
and I ended up taking it and running with it. That happened to me in undergrad. I was working with these guys who were working on these projects, and it was a little entrepreneur venture. We were throwing little events and stuff, and I took it and run with it because my fire was a little different than
Right.
their fire. Um,
Okay.
when it came to the T-shirts, my fire was a little different than their fire.
Right.
When it came to the Breakfast Club, the concept for the Breakfast Club was discussed in its infancy stage, not even infancy stage, in its embryonic stage,
Mhm.
right? It was just a thought, and the thought was discussed amongst a number of people in a car one night as we were driving through the city of Houston, and it was pitched to these guys when I went home and thought about it. He came back and said, "Hey, this is what we discussed the other night," and nobody bit.
Mm.
So
So,
their fire burnt differently than mine.
right. So
You,
then,
you, you understand what I'm saying?
oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. And I have a little saying, everybody that's in the car ain't with you. Right?
That's
That's
right.
not hating. That's just getting people to realize that everybody in the car is not with you. Y'all might be,
Right.
together, but y'all ain't together.
No, but that's a good lesson and a good point.
Yeah.
And it's not to be, any certain way towards people. And I think that's something that people expect, especially when they do get successful. They have to bring everybody with them. Where people will make you feel bad, like, oh, it's not about me, but it's not
Yeah.
personal. You
And,
just have
and,
to,
and it's okay to give opportunities,
yeah,
but you can't allow that opportunity to be a drag on you, right? And you have to pay attention to the fact that your fire burns a little different than
right,
theirs, right? So yeah, so
absolutely.
my
So,
first, I did T-shirts, I dibble and dabble in cars, uh, and real estate.
There you
You know,
go.
real
I actually found the location for the Breakfast Club while I was um, dabbling in real estate.
hmm,
I was buying real estate and had bought some properties, and mostly in the South Side and Southwest Side, and you know, the third ward area was starting to boom, and a old man told me, he said, if you got a few dollars, go down there and get you some of that dirt. And so I went down there to get some of that dirt, and I actually found the Breakfast Club on the corner of Maine and Alabama, Travis
Wow.
in Alabama.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's
So,
what you were. Oh, go
Yes.
ahead.
oh,
Where you
so
at, Leslie? Where you at?
the the
Come on, I'm
Breakfast
listening. I can hear
Club.
you. I can hear you.
Go
We
ahead, Leslie.
we know that the Breakfast Club is a landmark in Houston. It's the one stop place that everyone in my family that hasn't been to Houston has asked to go to when they get here. I'm sure I can speak for all families when I say that. Did you envision that it would reach the multitudes that it's reached? And
Oh, yes.
did you did you imagine that it would be as culturally diverse as it is? Because at any given time when you drive by there and the line is 5 miles down the road, you're not just seeing one set group of people. You're seeing people from
From
all
all over.
races, all
Yeah.
colors, all over the United States. Did you
Right.
imagine it would ever reach this magnitude?
So the answer is yes and yes.
Uh,
And
ah,
I politely let you finish the question, but I get this question regularly in the restaurant. Um, so, I'm walking through the dining room on a busy Saturday, Sunday, and lines out the door, up the block, down Main, down Alabama, turning on Main.
yes.
Um, and people will say, hey, man, did you ever think? Yes, I did. We will.
Fantastic.
I know what you're about to ask. You about to ask me, did I ever think it was going to come to this? Did I ever think it was going to be this busy? Did I ever think it was going to be this popular? And my answer is yes. And I followed it up by saying, I saw you here before you got here. I'm a big believer in vision. I
Very.
believe entrepreneurs have to have vision. I believe it is
Yes.
absolutely necessary. I believe it is part of what makes you an entrepreneur. And what we have happening at the Breakfast Club is what I envision. I'm not trying to be cocky. I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm not trying to be braggadocious. I'm telling a truth. To say anything other than yes, I believe it would happen would be a denial of faith, right? So, and I
Amen.
believe those two
Mhm.
things go hand in hand. I saw it, and I believed wholeheartedly in it. There were goals that we set out to accomplish in 1999 when I drew up this business plan, and one was to be a nationally known eatery on the corner of Travis and Alabama. In 2020, that's not saying a lot because we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have TikTok, we have Twitter. We have the
Right.
ability to connect nationwide and internationally at our fingertips. In 2001, we didn't have that. And there was a goal to be known from sea to shining sea right here in the city of Houston. I wanted to put on for my city. That was our mission. That was our goal. We wanted to put on for our city. We wanted people to say, when I go to Houston, I'm going to the Breakfast Club. We wanted people to say, I'm going to Houston to go to the Breakfast Club.
Nice.
We wanted people, and this happened to a friend of mine, to be checking in. He checked in, this was in 2004. He was checking into a hotel in Atlanta. He called me from the front desk. He said, man, I am checking in a hotel, and this lady, so the first thing she asked me, I can't even get my room. She's asking me, have you been to the Breakfast Club?
I believe that.
Mission accomplished. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I like to brag a little bit. We
As
did
you should.
we did lines before Instagram and
Look.
TikTok and social media. We had lines out the door around the corner when all I had was a paper flyer in my hand.
Wow.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That's a whole nother
Well,
level of
with
hustle.
that being said, and so with this vision and this wonderful restaurant, do you envision it getting bigger so that we don't have to stand in line for so long? Is there a vision for that?
I wouldn't want to deny you the opportunity to fellowship with all of those people.
Oh,
That is
It's
part of the
it.
experience.
Didn't you just talk about all of the diversity? I'm being
I
facetious,
know.
but I'm also being for real, right? So you asked about, and I'm glad you brought that back around because I get off track sometimes. You talked about the diversity that we envision in diversity. Yes. And so when you talk about all the different people that are in that line from different ethnicities to different cities to different countries, What else? I mean, what else is there better to do than strike a conversation with the people in front of you, the people in back of you, right?
Well,
I've had encounters where people who met in the line and ate together didn't know one another. It was pre-COVID, not just pre-COVID,
Yeah, I would,
right?
I would assume.
pre-COVID.
And and develop relationships, exchange numbers, and connected. We've had so there is a mystique. There is something unique about being, and we have a signature cafe which is in the back, which is a way to expedite it. And there are people who choose, and no, I want to wait right here. I want the full experience. Now, going back to answering that question about diversity, yes, I did believe in this. We'll talk a little business here. I did believe that it would be diverse. We were deliberate in trying to make it diverse, so much so that as I approached bankers for funding that were turning me down left and right, there's a business question that they would ask: Who is your target audience? Right? That's a question that any business person that's filling out a business plan, that's applying for funding, what have you, they're going to ask you, who's your target audience? And you're encouraged in business school and in your business learning to identify who that target is. And I wanted to be a little disruptive, so I told all my bankers, everybody. I'm not identifying them. Anybody that wants to eat, that's who we're going after. Anybody that wants to join into this cultural shift that we're about to put on the corner of Travis and Alabama, they are welcome. And it was a turnoff to a lot of the folks because they thought that I should, and I came from a company where we identified that our target audience was white female 26 with 2.3 kids. I never understood how the point three of a child existed, but nonetheless, with 2.3 kids with this amount of money in the house, income, and that's healthy. I get it, but I didn't want to not just discriminate. I didn't want to leave anybody out.
Right.
So to sum it up, one day when there was a guy that pulled up, this when the Lexus Coupe was all the rage, right? Remember that Lexus Coupe was it, right? That convertible, that drop top Lexus Coupe. Y'all remember that
Oh
one?
yeah.
Dude pulled up. Oh, dude. Oh, she got a Lexus Coupe.
Did you? You said you remember, Leslie?
I remember.
So it was all the rage, right? It was Pearl. The convertible guy pulls up and he gets out and he's dapper Dan, right? He got all the good stuff on, got the shiny shoes, the tailored suit, the whole thing. And a dude pulled up right next to him in a backhoe. He just pulled his tractor up right next to him in the parking lot, got out of it with his overalls on, and came and they were standing in line together. And that's the place that we wanted to have. We wanted to have the place that and this was accomplished as well, where we would have at one table college students from, because we're in the middle of TSU, U of H, Rice, so we'd have college students coming in there before class, what have you, and at the next table, Fortune 500 CEOs sitting down having a multi-million-dollar conversation or just having a breakfast. So yes, diversity was important.
What do you think you did that kind of? Was it advertising or was it? What do you think that's something that you did that to get that type of crowd or that type of thing?
Well, one, you, I got to give a lot of credit to my city. We are, the most diverse city in the nation. That's what they say. That's what they tell me.
That's what they say.
So I got to give a lot of credit to my city. All right. Two, what did we do? We did what I thought we should do. We delivered a quality product and quality service and welcome to anyone.
Yeah.
And it worked.
It
Because you know
did.
what? Well, it's something. Yeah. What like aside from diversity, even just with the about the success side of it, do you think that there are anything specific things that almost like a formula? Once you do this, this, this.
So there are many paths to success. I'll give you my mantra, my spiel, my something speech: quality product, quality service, all the time. If you deliver great product, you get great service, and you do those two things consistently, then that is a formula. That is a formula for success.
Um, so
Well, you
quality,
said something. Oh, go ahead.
Quality product,
quality
quality
product,
service,
and
all the
consistent.
time.
All right. Go ahead, Leslie.
And
You
that all
said
the time is
something.
is the most important part,
Right.
right? You have to do it. You have to be committed to doing it all of the time, not just
Yes.
some of the time. Every single time you unlock those doors.
Mhm.
But you entrepreneurs out there, as hard as it is, you know, every single time you unlock those doors and turn those lights on, your goal is to be the same as you were yesterday and better. To be consistent with it. I mean, I give you an example. We grown. We don't eat Mickey D's that much anymore, right? But I guarantee you, if you go get a quarter pound, it's gonna be the same quarter pound that you
Right.
had. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Consistency is key. Consistency can carry mediocre products.
Yeah, I was going to say because there are some businesses who they might be consistent, but it may be one of the others that's lacking, and that's why they're not growing
Yeah.
or
But
expanding.
what I'm saying is consistency is such a big deal that it can carry a mediocre product.
I
Ah,
agree
okay.
with
That's
that
how
100%.
that's how important consistency is, right?
Right.
Yes.
If I know that these beans they cool, but I know that they can be cool all the time.
Right. I know what to
If I
expect.
go to a place that these are great and then the next day they bad, if
Gotcha.
you know what you're getting, you know. But go ahead. I'm sorry. You were saying
Yep.
something,
Okay.
Leslie.
Yeah, Leslie.
I do have a question for you. You brought up something. You said that you kept going to bank because you kept getting turned down, and that is something that we've discussed on the show before. Is the turn down at the banks, and how did you flip that around to work for you? Because that is a fear that most young entrepreneurs today have. They're worried about those banks telling them no just based on the color of their skin. So, what is your advice to overcome that?
So I'll tell you my number one piece of advice, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did an interview with Black Enterprise, and they asked me point blank, what do you believe the government can do for black businesses? And the answer, quite simply, is give us our reparations, give us what you owe us, give us what is due, and we'll figure the rest of that out. So that's my initial answer. Fight for what you deserve. Fight for what you owe. And let me put this in perspective, right? Remember I told you a
Mm-hmm.
story about my father, who was a hardworking man, a diligent father, and did not have the ability to hand down or to give me what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
I discovered that when I went to other business owners and asked them, how did you get started? Right? I'm doing my homework, trying to figure out how they open their restaurant, how they open their business. And they were not of the same hue, right? And so my daddy this,
Yeah.
right? My grandfather this, my daddy's friend this, right? The co-signed on the loan or gave me the money or what have you. The idea that African Americans have been deprived and discriminated against contributed to the inability of someone as great as my father to be able to do something as simple as provide for his son's dream. Follow what I'm saying? And that's why I
Mm-hmm.
think that's incredibly important. You didn't just deny his grandfather or his great grandfather, you denied all the way till Marcus Davis,
Right.
because that
It's
generational wealth
generational.
was it was not passed down. And that is my argument for why we deserve reparations. Now, going back to, what do I tell them now? I go back to what my dad told me. You bust your butt, you work hard, you save your money, and you keep your credit clean. And you piece it together the best way you can. So when I did not get the, the 200, $300,000, whatever the business plan that I put together, when I didn't get the money, I had to do the best I could with what I had. So when I got 10% of that, I took those few dollars and I went to Home Depot and I bought, instead of hiring the contractor, I had to go buy the sheetrock, the hammer, and the nails myself, and had to roll up my sleeves and put that work in. That's where
Right.
that work ethic kicked in,
Yeah.
right? So you combine being resourceful. There's one of these guys like, that talks about it's not about not having the resources, it's not being resourceful enough. And we're quick to say what I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
instead of trying to find a way to use what we had right where we are. I think there's some scripture behind that too. I'll get it to you if you want. If we take a break, we got to take an offering if I get into that.
No, but that is good. Use what you have. Use whatever you already, what resources, resources you already have at the
There's
gift
an
point.
old preacher in Houston. His name was A. Lewis Patterson, and I never forget. He preached this sermon about Shamgar, and it's one scripture, and not to mention in the Bible, but his whole sermon was about use what you had. And this guy was in a battle, but he didn't have all the fine artillery that everybody else had. And so he looked down and he saw the jawbone of an ass sitting in the desert, and he picked it up and he beat the ass and he won the war. So, you know, that was, and Pastor's message was use what you have
Use what you
to get what you
have.
try.
There you go. Well, I know that.
All right.
That's
Okay.
hilarious.
Where are we now?
Well,
we
yeah,
don't
really
have
great
much
point.
time. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Leslie.
Oh, I know we don't have much time left. I know that Coco had told me about a food drive. Are we on the right street
Well,
for that?
I didn't know what exactly did you have going on for the Thanksgiving. I know you guys have some type of. Are you guys doing a giveaway, or what are you planning on for the Thanksgiving holiday season?
So we've already done our collaboration for the holiday season. We partnered with one of our community partners and did a project to give away some food. We got another one coming up that we're working on for the Christmas holidays, and that's where our bigger drive is going to take place. So y'all stay tuned. We've got something big coming up.
Yes,
December.
please keep
So,
us up to date on
yeah.
that. We would love to talk about that.
Yeah, most definitely. It's gonna be pretty good. Where we have the opportunity to help feed a number of folks in the city of Houston in different segments of Houston. So we're excited about that, and excited about the
Fantastic.
folks that we're collaborating with.
Absolutely. And
Excellent.
so we do have a couple minutes left. I did want to ask you at least squeeze one more thing in there. As far as, because I know that there's a lot of people, a lot of viewers and listeners that they want to kind of,
They can see us. Oh,
Well,
Lord, today.
I know. Well,
Okay. All right.
All
right.
I know.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. So yeah, as far as the viewers that do want to, become an entrepreneur, they want to start their own business. We kind of have an idea of what that might look like, but when you're actually living the life, what is your day to day? What is the day in the life of Marcus Davis? When you wake up, are you at the restaurant all the time? Or you...
So look, listen. I am an admitted workaholic. I do, but I love what I do. So it's not that I have a great team that has the ability to execute very well. I go to work every day because one, I like what I do. And this pandemic has been, a struggle in a number of ways, and a lot of that is, we can overcome. The one that I have not been able to overcome is I love hugging my customers. I love, holding conversation with them, and it's hard to do through the mask and with the pandemic. So, that's the tough part. But I go to work every day because I love what I do.
I think that's a key thing. You have to love what you do, or when you do, it doesn't feel so much like work.
And and I'm not talking about the starting phase of the business. The starting phase of the business, you must put in work. You must roll up the sleeves. You must be engaged. If you're trying to do it from afar, trying to do it part time, beware. I can't stress that enough. And you can have the problem of not creating the culture that you want, and that's what you have to spend time doing in your business in the beginning stage. You have to create the culture that you want, right? You have to set the standard of who you're going to be and what you're going to be about. I have you asked about the keys to success. When we opened in 2001, I did some homework from 99 to 2001, looking for what issues will we solve as an entrepreneur? What questions are we answering? What issues are you solving? And just putting it out on Front Street. Um, our restaurants have a reputation, and again, I'm not doing this exclusively about African Americans. I have only been black for 49 years, right? So I can only speak from my African American experience. And there was a stigma associated with our business, and I wanted to show that we had the capacity to do better. I wanted to set the example in my small little space as best I could that we can be efficient, we can be effective, we can be professional. I wanted to set that culture in the business and make sure that everybody that worked inside of 3711 Travis understood that. And this is what I mean by setting the standard.
Mhm.
After spending the first 4 or 5 years, working in the business every day, all day to get it developed the way I wanted it, then I started to breathe a little bit, and I didn't get up and come in at 5 o'clock in the morning like you were, right? Had people who would open. So there's a young lady who works for me named Jackie, and Jackie would call me every morning at 7 o'clock on the dot. Mr. Marcus, it's 7 o'clock on the dot. I want you to know your door's open because that was not something we played with. As simple as it sounds, it's a major issue when you take things like that for granted. Open when you say you're going to open, close when you say you're going to close, and have available the product that you say you serve and sell.
There you go.
And those little simple things mean so much and meant so much in this industry that it just had to be, and my staff, we do not play that. I'm not saying mistakes don't happen. I'm not saying suppliers don't run out of stuff,
Yeah.
but my staff understood clearly. I have a guy right now who's been with me for over 10 years, and I'll be honest with you, he's in his own world, and I don't bother because the one thing that I know for certain is that every product that we have is going to be in that store.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why I've been trusting with that responsibility. And so, anyway, I don't know how we got off.
No, I hope everyone's taking notes right now because that's key
Yes,
information.
and it may be different in your own world,
Yeah.
but in whatever industry you're in,
But that kind of goes.
commit to who you say you're going to be.
Right.
We say we open at 7, our doors are open at 6:59, 59 seconds. We close at 2. We don't close at 1:59. We don't close at 1:55. We don't look and say it's 1 o'clock and we hadn't had anybody in here for. I mean, we're talking about early days. I'm not talking about it now, but you're so tempted. You're so tempted that and timid that you want to say, "Man, it's slow. We're gonna go ahead and close." No, sir. No, ma'am. You may get one customer from 1 to 2, but I guarantee if you do the right thing with that one customer and you stick it out, the next week they're gonna be back and they're gonna bring a clean and they're gonna tell it to them. But I promise you, if you close that door at 1 o'clock and they show up at 1:30, they're gonna tell everybody that they pulled up at 1:30 and you closed.
Yep.
So
Yeah, that's very true. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, that's key information. And that actually, yeah, like you said, it goes across the board.
goes across the board.
Most
Whoever you say you are, be that person.
Yeah.
Whatever business you say you're in, be that thing.
Be that
Whatever
person.
product you say you carry, have that thing.
Absolutely. So we're going to kind of wrap up, but I want to go ahead and leave with this. Is there anything or any advice that you can give for um, maybe someone who's already in business, any kind of just one little nugget of information that you've learned along the way, aside from being consistent, is there something that even mentally, is there something that you do daily to make sure something that motivates them to kind of push through? It is hard to be an entrepreneur. You kind of give up everything, and then you might not see money come in, or what's not going how you expected it. What would you say to this?
Two things. One, leadership matters. Yes, having advice, leadership matters. Understand that leadership matters. Your role as the entrepreneur or as the leader in your department, in your company, in your household, whatever, leadership absolutely, positively matters. you don't believe me? Look at the last 4 years of the nation, and you'll understand what I mean. In
Hmm.
2008, I voted for President Barack Obama, not just because he was a black man. Yes, I did. Not because I agree with some of the policies that he put in place. Yes, I did. But quite simply, I looked at the condition of our nation. I said, what do we need most right now? We need leadership. And I believe that the people that were candidates at that time, he was the most poised to lead this nation. Similarly, your company, your business hinges on how much you develop yourself as a leader. It doesn't matter whether you're going through Hurricane Harvey or if you're going through a pandemic. Leadership is going to be necessary. Leadership is going to be required because when that hurricane hits, they're looking to you. When that pandemic hits, they're looking to you. Your
That's
company,
right.
your employees are looking to you. Your community is looking to you. Develop your leadership skills at every given opportunity. Work out. When I say work out, read, read,
Um,
read, find find value in every little thing. Pick up an article, assess a business and a practice, a principle that you see, embrace it, explore it. Um, leadership matters.
that's great.
That's the one thing that I want to leave people with.
Excellent. Great advice. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up right now, but thank you so much for our guest, Marcus Davis. Please remember to go ahead and go on all the social media, follow him and his businesses. Again, Facebook, Marcus Davis, IG is at Marcus Messiah, and then follow the Breakfast Club, the Breakfast Club. Facebook at Breakfast Club with a K, and then on Twitter and IG it's Catfish and Grits. And then if you want to check out any more information about his businesses, you can then at Reggae Hut. It's reggaehutcafe.com, and then it is thebreakfastclub.com. And again, so much.
Thank you
We
for the
learned a
invite.
lot. I know I was taking mental notes. So thank you
Thank you,
so much.
Marcus. Yes.
Thank you, Leslie. It's a pleasure meeting you
You
by
too.
Zoom.
All right, and make sure you guys to follow at Black Talk at Talk Black Podcast, tongue twister, and like and subscribe us on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.
Bye bye.